That was the incredible Mami Watta's collection by Maria Parada. Sorry about my pronunciation. I'd like to do a huge shout out to DJ Luni for those beats. Just before we jump into the intermission, I would like to talk a little bit about Mami Watta Collections. Mami Watta Collections is a brand founded in 2017 and is inspired by the ancestral traditions of beading and weaving, which we could see just then with the intricate beading designs and the amazing patterns. Each collection is designed locally and made in collaboration with Indigenous artisans from tribes across Latin America. Mami Watta's wearable art pieces can take up to 3 months to bead, using a needle and thread and millinery inspiration. The colour combinations and geometric designs are inspired by nature and cosmologies that are closely tied to the natural environment. We're going to be joined very soon by Krystal Hurst and Maria Parada for an in-conversation. Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon. Hello and welcome back, everyone. I am once again Travis de Vries, a Gamilaroi man. We're going to begin our panel discussion for Sydney Crafts Week's Connecting Cultures with Krystal Hurst and Maria Parada. So we're going to just run through a few questions, have some fun. It's going to be pretty light in conversation. We may get to some deeper stuff as we get through. Krystal, can I get you to introduce yourself and who you are and what you do and why you do it?
Yeah, good year. My name's Krystal and I'm a Worimi woman from the mid-north coast of New South Wales, and a lot of my people are on Purfleet Mission and also Cabarramita Mission on Foster. And I now currently live on Ngunnawal country in Canberra. And I also run Gillawarra Arts, which is a wearable art enterprise, and I also do artworks as well.
And Marie, could you also introduce yourself and what you do?
Yeah, okay. My name is Ana Maria. I was born in Colombia. I migrated to Australia on Gadigal country from the age of 14. I've been living in Sydney since then, and I found, it's been a really incredible journey to migrate to a foreign country, speaking a different language, and also just connecting more to the traditional cultures here. It's taken me long to get to this point where I can be sitting next to such wonderful artists like yourself. So I'm really honoured to be here. A bit about myself and Mami Watta Collections. So I founded that brand in 2017 based on my really strong wish to support Indigenous artisans back home in Colombia, as we have a quite tricky situation with poverty, corruption, war, and really there's really not much that we can do about that, but we can definitely support artisans, and that's what I do through the brand.
Absolutely. That's a huge journey, and I think we're really happy to have you as part of the sort of the family here. Krystal, can you talk to me about this most recent collection that we just saw before? What it's made of? What does it mean? Maybe talk to me about it as if I was someone who had never seen any of it before.
Yeah, so I guess the whole birth of this whole collection really started a few years ago when I first met Anna, and we've maintained our relationship ever since then, and we had this idea of doing a fashion show together. And, with this collection I really wanted to show off, stories from our people and showcase beautiful wearables that tell a story, but also that it's something that's really personal to me, and I really like to go through that process and bring all these different materials together to create beautiful wearable art, and I just love what I do. And you may have seen in the collection, the models were wearing some beautiful garments as well, so I did lots of hand block printing on those and got somebody to make them for me. So I'm kind of in like this experimental stage but also exploration as well through what I do with my arts practice.
Cool. I think that exploration is a really important part about like staying fresh, but also I think it's tricky with more traditional work is that maybe you shouldn't be exploring too much, but I think as artists that's what we want to do is explore and create. Anna, who makes your work? And please tell me more about this most recent collection.
Yeah, okay. So this collection for today, for the Connecting Cultures event, was a collection that I chose during COVID. So we had chats with Krystal since we met. We've been doing markets together and we've been seeing each other here and there. I have invited Krystal to be part of one of our festivals for the Latin American people called Pachamama Festival. So that was the first kind of exchange that we started having, where I got to invite Krystal to my world of Latin American people in Sydney. And I found really amazing how engaged she was with our culture, with the music, and that made me very excited to know that, you know, an Indigenous woman from Australia could be interested in my culture. So that was really exciting. We started chatting with Krystal about this, and then Sydney Craft Week came along. We had a chat and we submitted an event because we wanted to join our cultures together. And that's what the background for this collection, which I worked with one family to get every piece that you saw today at this fashion show was made by the Wasorna family. They're an Embera family that I have worked with from the beginning of my brand. So back in 2017, this brand started when I went back home, so I was in Bogota, that's my city of birth. And there's a lot of artisans who are displaced. So these artisans, they've actually fled out of their traditional land to the cities, so because out of survival, because the war is so hectic back home that they're really they're displaced and they're literally living from selling the beadworks on the street. So this first family that I connected with in Colombia, in Bogota, is the family that has made all the pieces today in this fashion show. The reason why I chose this selection of pieces was there was a lot of variety. I was after really big statement pieces because this is I really wanted to showcase what the traditional Embera beading is like. So I do through my brand I have also kind of changed a little bit of design. So sometimes I collaborate with the artist and I'm like, let's do this brand new design because we use the same techniques of beading, but I experiment new designs, new colors. But on this occasion, I was like, show me the most traditional stuff you have. Show me the most bright colors, just as you would wear it in the community. And that's, you know, that's what it is. What you saw today is very, very traditional Embera chamitra beading.
I'd love to talk a little bit about collaboration, why it's important to both of you, and sort of how this collaboration came about.
You look at me.
Looking at you.
Look, collaboration for me for this event has been really special. I think the most special time for me in this event was when you came over and we spent a whole weekend together, and Krystal was like, tell me about you and who you are and where you come from. And for me, that was a really special time for my belonging in Australia as a non-Australian born person, because to have someone to be so interested in fully listening to who you are and where you come from is very special. It doesn't happen often to migrants. We often come here and end up in pockets of migrants in like these subcultures, because it's kind of tricky with the language and the, you know, different culture. So for me, that was really special. And collaboration, for me, that's really important. It's not just about making jewelry and making a fancy event. It's really about what impact you have in my life. And you have a ripple effect in my relations, because, you know, half of this event here right now is Latin American. And I can't wait to have a chat with my friends who've been here, spending time with Indigenous Australian people here, because they probably haven't had the chance to be friends with any Indigenous person, because we don't have much space for us to engage with each other. That's the truth, and it's sad. But collaboration for me has been just learning, and also your artworks today were just so stunning, and I'm just amazed, and I'm high in life and so honoured honestly, that's collaboration for me.
Awesome.
That is so beautiful, Anna. I think, when I think about collaboration, I think it's something that our people and our ancestors have done for so long, and it just comes really natural. And I've always been interested in what Anna does, from the relationship that we've had and seeing her support her community back home. And I was really inspired by that, because I feel with whatever that we do in this world that we live in today is that we have a responsibility and an obligation to give back to our communities in some way. So really what we did tonight wasn't just me and Anna, it was everybody who was involved, and even you, Travis. I'm just really grateful and really honoured to be able to do this with everybody and do it with Anna.
Yeah, and big shout out to all the people who are this is what you see here, 3 people. There's a whole room of people who had made this event happen and possible. So definitely a big thank you.
Yeah. And definitely lots of our friends and family who are also here in the audience. I'd just like to say thank you all for coming as well.
Can we talk a little bit about artisanship, particularly around kind of contemporary making, but also thinking about these are traditional cultural materials, but you're making them in a contemporary way, and kind of what is the sort of process from from utilizing something that's really traditional like that and potentially sacred, and then bringing it into this more contemporary space.
Yeah, I feel like there's this idea, particularly in the arts sector, that there's a certain way that Indigenous people ought to be making art. And I like to kind of crash those kind of stereotypes and create new pathways where we're doing it in a respectful and authentic way, but also it's about being innovative and being creative and exploring self and connection to family and community, because that's really what it's all about for me. But I also reflect on how much colonisation has impacted or disrupted these sorts of art making or cultural practices as well. So I'm always thinking about that and that responsibility I have to pass that on, to my family as well. I grew up jewellery making with my mum, and she grew up on the mission, and she did so much in our community, and I just think about her all the time too when I'm making as well, because she's no longer here with us. So it's a way for me to connect to my mum.
I think that idea of something being traditional, so it's sacred, so you can't touch it, is really problematic, because we are here and we are in the contemporary day, and we are making and we're still doing traditional work. And so even within that work, it may still be sacred, but it doesn't mean that we can't play with it and change it and grow it. Yeah. What about you, Anna?
Yeah, I think in my position it's a bit different, because unlike Krystal, who made all her pieces today, I have commissioned artists to do these. But for me it's very important that consulting with the artisans is super important, because I don't want to. I guess I'm an intermediary. So I'm in the middle of the makers and the receivers. Although I can also bead now, but none of the pieces that you saw today are ceremonial pieces. There are ceremonial pieces that are beadworks that are used by specific people in the community, and that's for them to use. And that's definitely not wherever when I get to. I definitely only trade with the pieces that are made specifically to be shared, that are contributing to the sustainable income of the artisans. So that on that side, I definitely do care, and I know it's a very touchy area, because I don't want to disrespect a specific tribe that I'm working with, because I am not from that tribe. Even though I've got Indigenous ancestry in me, I have grown as a city woman, and I've got that very clear in my head. For me, I'm in my own journey of connecting with my indigeneity, but for the tribes that I work with, their reality is very different to mine. But I definitely don't think because it's, I know that it's sacred, we're talking about sacred pieces, they hold a lot of knowledge, a lot of history, but I definitely agree with Krystal in that should not stop us because it's ours as well, and we are the descendants of these knowledge holders, and I would rather us make community from these pieces than them sitting in some museum for where I've had to pay to go to a museum to see what my ancestors did, and that's really hurtful. It really messes up with my identity of who I am. So I would rather create this community space with all of us, and the way I innovate is I'm taking this Embera beading technique and with the team in Colombia, because I do work with the team in Colombia who are Embera chimney artisans, but I am innovating by connecting their beadworks with Indigenous people of Australia so that we can see what we're doing, because First Nations people around the world, we all have our different craft making traditions. So I don't think that should stop us. I just think we have to be careful, we have to be respectful 100%, but that should not stop us, because I would rather have our people doing it than non-Indigenous people profit making from this craft making without the community receiving any benefit. That really is not okay for me.
Absolutely. We'll move on to arts and business, but also I find I'm a craft maker myself, or a craft person, and I find that the process is something that's so personal and really hard to convey. And I was wondering kind of how you sort of translate that experience into making something that is for sale and for business. Could you talk a little bit about that journey from how you've gone to being a maker to being women in business?
I think for me, I've always been surrounded by arts and culture, and Gillawarra really started in the 1980s, where our people were kind of excluded from the Australian economy and being able to have the right to self-determine our own spaces. So that's really where Gillawarra comes from. So I think, I spent so much time with my family making, painting and connecting in those sorts of ways. So I've forgotten what your question is, but I'm just going to roll with it.
Just talking about the personal, the personal experience of craft making, and then kind of taking that to, the community level, and then on to from there the business level of that.
Yeah, that's where I was going. Gillawarra was kind of set up as a arts and craft enterprise. And it's something that I've taken on, and I'm always conscious of not going to a space where my pieces are to that point of being disrespectful or exploitation. I'm always conscious of being respectful to my people and my family as well. I don't know where I'm going.
It's okay. Anna, do you want to jump in?
I think it's super tricky to put a price on a cultural, I'm not going to call it product because it's a piece of art. It's really hard, that process of how much is this. It's really hard because you have to really account, these pieces take so long. On our modern day society we charge per hour, but in this occasion it's really not applicable, because if you did charge per hour and you do count how long it takes for a piece to be made, how long it took for you to learn from your mother and your grandmother and, go back so many generations, this piece would be worth trillions, right? But who would pay $1 trillion for this necklace? You know what I mean? So I'm sure you would. No.
if I had the money, I probably would. Yeah.
No, but yeah, it is really tricky. I don't know if that was your question, but I know taking it into the business, and it is existing in two worlds of traditional making, but in a modern world, the capitalist system, and how it is tricky to be in the middle, and sometimes I do struggle with that. But I think to become a woman in business, and I think Krystal and I do this, and I actually was inspired by Krystal in how she does her workshops, and how we don't just sell jewelry, we actually do workshops where we connect with people who are more interested in the tradition behind this piece. Like, I love when people ask me, how long did it take to do these, or what materials do you use, because you can't ask that to a mainstream shop where everything is like manufactured. So it is very different, and I do like I think for me, Krystal has inspired me in this way, is connecting with our audience and passing on that you can feel each piece, each piece tells a story, and you can't particularly put a price on that.
I mean, on that, would you ever, if a kind of more commercial kind of brand came along and was like, we would love to license this and mass produce it, would you do that? This is the tough questions.
Definitely not, because that, in this space that I am in, I try and stay close to my values and not take it to that point where it's mass produced. I think it's more important that we keep it close to us and that it is Indigenous owned and that we have the power over it and we make the decisions behind it. Because for too long our arts in this whole industry has been exploited so many ways. So, that's why I feel like it's important for us blackfellas to be in this space, because we're making that, we're making those decisions and we're in positions of power. So I think, that's really important in what we're doing.
Yeah, I would envision a world of micro businesses. So rather than me being like, oh, I'm the one selling all the jewelry, more like, let's empower. And I'm sure we're doing this today. Everyone here is an artist. Most of people here are craft makers. So it's really, I think we're very generous, and we want to empower and enable other people to be in a position like we are, where we hold a really powerful brand that is, creating income for our people. And that's where I would like to head. Yeah, if someone came and gave me a $1 million offer, I just don't think, I would love to get a whole country beating, but that would be a big job. But I'm really more about it's all about the people, I think, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it might look good as if somebody did do that in a particular point in time. But, for me, I'm thinking way ahead, even beyond me. I'm thinking generations ahead. And I like to see our mob in these sorts of spots.
I wanted to just touch on this just quickly because I think it's important, and I think there's been... I see a lot of these sort of questions on social media around particularly First Nations work in this country. But is just anyone allowed to wear your work and buy it and wear it, or do you have a special kind of set of circumstances that people need to kind of adhere to?
Yeah, so for me within Gillawarra, I don't make any ceremonial pieces. So, I like to say that everyone can wear my jewellery because I feel like it's a way for people to connect and respect and honour that arts practice. But I think, I love it when mob are wearing it, and they're representing out there.
Yeah, likewise. So anyone can wear it as long as they hold respect to the makers and to the tradition. Then yeah. Definitely.
Awesome. Shall we talk about the future a little bit? What do you have coming up? Or actually, let's go bigger. Where do you see your craft going in the future, and where do you see craft making's place in the arts in the future?
Gosh, that's a big question. Anna, do you want to answer this one?
Where do I see craft making in the future? I definitely see, I'm talking about the Australian context specifically. I would love to see more markets. Well, I do have a history in markets because that's where most jewellery makers start from, I guess. But I've loved seeing the black markets, and I think I don't know what that's been the impact on Indigenous Australian makers. I'd love to know more, but I do see more of that. I would like to see more of that happening. I would like to see more space for First Nations peoples or people of diverse cultures and languages to get together so that we can exchange more of our stories and our tradition. Because like a lot of First Nations countries have different modes of craft making, and I really love sharing and exchanging those. I just don't think there's many places where we can do that.
At the moment, I think I'm more conscious about what kind of climate we're going to be living in and what that future is going to look like for all of us mob in protecting our country. I feel like that's where I'm kind of, where my headspace is at. But in terms of art making and, passing that on, I just like my family to take on Gillawarra arts in the future and keep sharing our stories and, strengthening who we are as Worimi people.
Absolutely. One kind of final question. What advice would you give to a young person who is probably of your mob who is thinking of getting into craft making?
I think, the advice I would give is, connect with your community and connect with your elders first and, ask that advice and, whatever the elders say, follow that, and ensuring that we have their support in what we do. But, for young people also, I just like to say, if you have that dream and that passion for it, go out and get it and connect with your community. There's so many amazing people out there in these spaces and, it's just about connecting.
And Anna?
I would like to encourage anyone who wants to get into craft making, art making, to do it, because for my mob, so Latin American people, perhaps Colombian people specifically, art is not even considered a profession, and it's actually really hard to get into the arts. It was very hard for me to reach the arts. And yeah, we have a lot of decolonizing work to do in our country. And unfortunately, the arts is a very tricky area. It's very tricky for First Nations people in Colombia to have a space to share their art as well. So yeah, but then, on an individual level, like craft making, art making has a really positive impact in my mental health. So it really allows me to connect to the present moment. We're so distracted all the time with, our phones and our social media, and we really don't have much time where we can concentrate. And I do think craft making is a really special way to do that. And I do encourage it as a really positive practice. And, anyone who would like to start a small business, I would really recommend it, because you do meet so many people along the way. I would have never met Krystal if it hadn't been because I was out there in a market doing it. And sometimes people ask me, but how? I'm like, you just have to do it. You just have to get yourself out there, be vulnerable and be open to be like, this is what I make and I'm proud of it, let's not be so scared about things. But, when it comes to traditional craft making, definitely consulting with the elders and with the community, particularly like someone like me who's doing international trade. It's super important to be connected with the community and to consult. And this is a work that has taken me like 10 years, because I was doing research at uni of Indigenous cosmologies, like back when I was in university. So for me, it's taken me a long time to get to this point where I actually got to engage with Indigenous tribes and trade, and that takes a long time. To build trust with an Indigenous person, it takes trust, and you can only do that by proving yourself that you are a reliable person, respectful person. Yeah, there's a lot there. I was wondering if we have any questions from the audience, from the YouTube audience. While perhaps someone's going to get that in the meantime, I'm not sure if we have anything.
Before we have any questions from the audience, do you guys have any final thoughts that you would like to or actually, where can people find your work?
Yeah, so you can check me out on Instagram, Gillawarra Arts, and also on my website, gillawarraarts.com.
Yes, so with me, likewise, you can find our pieces in mamiwattacollections.com. We also have an Instagram, and yeah, that's about it. We do run workshops every now and then. Yeah.
Are the new collections up online yet, or when will they be?
Well, my collection is actually going to Sister over there, Jarran Street. Jarran. So they'll be going to her.
They're already gone.
So you can check them out when they're on sale at Westfields.
That's amazing.
What's the suburb, sis? Brookvale, New South Wales.
I'm going to get myself to Brookvale tomorrow.
Everyone get down there.
Mine is not going to be up yet until we have some... Yeah, I need to upload them on the website. But yeah,
okay.
I don't think we have any questions. We've run out of time, perhaps.
We have. Do we have any final thoughts just before we go? Anyone we want to thank?
I would just like to thank everybody involved, and it's been really great to do this with Anna. I'm just really, really honoured and grateful.
I want to thank Krystal for these 3 months of connecting and exchanging ideas and making this possible. Definitely everyone involved today. And also I think we're very relevant to the theme of change makers, which is Sydney Craft Week's theme. I reckon we're change makers. I'm not sure. What do you reckon?
Absolutely.
I reckon we're trying to create change here. For sure, that's my motto. Definitely thanks the Australian Design Centre for having Sydney Craft Week as a yearly event, and thank you 107 Project, thank you Travis, thank you everyone involved.
Thank you to the models, the volunteers, and the sound and production team. And thank you both for having me. It's been really great, and congratulations on the launch of your new collection. They're both amazing.
Thank you.
I wish I could nab one up, but we'll see.
Thanks so much. Marimbu.
We'll be getting one, don't you worry.
And thank you to everybody listening at home.